Welcome to the free audio rendering of Not Without Scars 2. Such an insightful and impactful work must be accessible to the countless number of people living similar life experiences. Becoming a best-selling author pales in comparison to creating a tool capable of instilling hope in the multitude of people trapped in the valley of decision. My greatest profit comes in helping others emerge victorious over their life struggles. My goal is to encourage individuals to follow their dream. My message: you must never quit on your faith, pursuing your aspiration or vision. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take a moment, invite your family, friends and acquaintances, and enemies to listen to this work chapter by chapter. It is free to listen as well as free to subscribe. Peace, love, and phenomenal blessing.
How do I write my life story? I know hurt and pain. I don't like either one, whether physical or emotional. Herein contains my story, Not Without Scars, Part 2. Optimism, perseverance, persistence, resilience. 2 decades of personal struggle. Optimism. I faced the new millennium with hopefulness. Perseverance. My ego, my humble beginnings, my desire to achieve never allow me to turn away from a difficult task. Persistence. Opposition should be anticipated as an effective strategy to victory surfaces. Resilience. Difficulties do not automatically spell termination. Scars reveal my imperfection as reminders of past episodes of pain, sorrow, or triumph. Scars can tell beautiful story endings or relay misery that wishes to remain anonymous. This work is meant to help others who have experienced decades of struggle. When struggles appear to never end, you must get through the night and face the challenge of a new dawn with fresh hope.
Chapter 13, The Home Confinement. Introduction. It was 7+ days from the day of my arrest before I went before a judge for the formal arraignment on multiple charges. Joan Synenberg would represent me at this initial hearing. He had visited me at the holding facility for federal detainees at the private prison in Youngstown, Ohio. Roger made it clear that he would not be available to handle my case as he was tied up with a murder case in federal court. However, he agreed to handle the preliminary pretrial stages pro bono. This would assure me the opportunity to be released from custody while awaiting trial. Roger and his wife, Judge Joan Synenberg, proved their loyalty and friendship during these difficult moments. Judge Synenberg closed her court and was in the audience as support as Roger served as my counsel. His representation gained me release on home confinement. Home confinement meant I had to surrender my passport. It also meant an ankle bracelet for electronic monitoring, limited hours outside my home, and special permission from the judge to travel outside the Northern District of Ohio. It was better than a cell, but it was not freedom to its fullest extent either. I had to explain to my children the predicament. It was not easy, but I would have 7 months or so with my family. I miscalculated the possibility of this being the end of my family unit as I would know it. Had I realized the gravity pulling my family toward dissolving, I would have treated each day differently, each moment with a member of my household differently. My firstborn daughter, Sean, and my firstborn granddaughter, Jasmine, joined Brittany, Dreamer, Madison, Jack, and me in the greatest Uno game of all time. We played this historic game on the bed in the master suite. What an abundance of laughter and joy that burned into my soul. It was a spiritual gathering of my family in the most unique bond imaginable, an Uno card game. I would never have dreamed such an event would create a memory that would last me a lifetime. The Sunday immediately following my arrest, Jackie addressed the congregation. Upon my release, I still served in my role as pastor. My first Sunday back in the pulpit, Mayor Jackson came by. Retaining the ability to function became increasingly difficult. Plans for the future were uncertain at best. Arnold and Betty Pinckney offered support and advice. We had a great conversation, very enlightening, at the BP station at the corner of Chagrin Boulevard and Richmond Road. It was a far different experience than the time shared courtside at the Cavs games, or the vacation that the Pinckneys gave Jackie and me when they were unable to travel to Defusky Island, South Carolina. The authentic moment at a gas refueling station outweighed the numerous occasions we had spent together. Authenticity. You never know when it will show up, but for certain, I recognize authenticity each time the revelation shall manifest. Historical. A successful man is one who can lay a firm foundation with the bricks others have thrown at him. David Brinkley. When chambers are reduced in size, facing the restrictions of home confinement, I never stopped the ideas from making a better community a realistic projection. I had the completion of a stage in the fellowship annex to the sanctuary. Once a month, the stage became the forum for youth evangelism. Each meeting hosted gospel rap groups from around the city metro area. I refused to allow what was transpiring around my personal orbit to dim an outreach opportunity. I choose to see myself as a success regardless of what catastrophe may be lurking. This was not delusional thinking, but my attitude toward overcoming negative challenge. I had to make sure this positive nature resonated consistently in my soul and spirit. More than the cliche of lemon to lemonade, I strategized beyond an escapism mindset to a carefully devised and nurtured agenda for a definitive future enactment. I view what was hurled my way was more also hurled at others. Therefore, my plan should also be big enough for others to follow my lead or example. It was one thing to avoid an obstacle, but an accomplishment to parry intended destructive objects into what became the material to embrace for personal ascension and a collaborative ladder for others to climb. I looked for the tangible apparatus that would lift me above a philosophical expounder. I embraced being labeled at times as a social theoretician simply because I built practical means to move from ideas to implementation. Paramount to my demeanor, I felt compelled to get ideas from out of my head onto paper. I did not stop there. The next phase had to move the concept form to a realistic and tangible project. As an administrator, I found this give a plus when assessing and assisting others in the cultivation of ideas and helping them develop what may appear to be loose thoughts. The drama surrounding my charge, indictment, and arrest had definitely diminished the reach of my physical ability to move about. However, the scope of my work was never restricted or enhanced by where I was or who I knew. My declaration and creative aspiration originated from within the inner chambers of my being. The shrinking size of my physical locus could not deflate my mental capacity. I would always dream larger than the smallest of the opposition. I would never surrender the visionary instinct inside me as they were governed by faith and the desire to build quality of life for others. Social Black experience. Stretch your mind and fly. Whitney M. Young Jr. When you must take an inventory, an ankle bracelet was a physical sign of what a number of Black men live with every day of their lives. A felony conviction, a past record, or the lack of a professional license. all operate as a reminder of the deficit that they must overcome to survive in America. I had chosen to stretch my mind and cross any horizon that presented itself as a negative force. The pressure of an upcoming trial forced me to stretch my thoughts further than at any time in the past. I had reached a personal plateau never before achieved. I had also managed to cascade into the depths of a valley from which I had never had to climb. Before I could dream again, I had to address the reality of the demands of being a husband, father, grandfather, pastor, community leader, and a man of faith. These were all denominators jockeying for a position inside my head and heart. Facing previous trials in criminal justice matters, I never had these forces contend for space on my agenda. Because of their prevalence, what would be my usual mode of thinking could not be reached. They were too far down in the well of my past to bring up for even a test evaluation. This was when an inventory of oneself will reveal that others have a priority than self. An inventory of what had true value. The line of projected step faced a different analytical pattern. I found silence giving space to a whole different plethora of voices. In time past, I only had to listen to myself think. Now my head was crowded with family, friend, community, and God. My voice suddenly became less vocal inside my own head. I understood what I was up against as a Black man, yet the race factor was not the most significant culprit. My mistakes were at the top of the chart. I now faced consequences that would impact my life and that of others. It hurt because I had worked so hard to get away from the system and what it could do to me as a Black man. And as my mind became fogged with more and more thoughts, the avoidance of depression elevated its status. After all that I had gone through in life, my inventory revealed a great deficit. I had too many shortcomings in taking on the United States. The indictment read, the United States of America versus Mark Carvin Owens. 300 million versus one. My inventory always left me with very little optimism. Yet I had to hold on to my integrity as an authentic version of myself. I had to desperately conduct an inventory that would lead me to discover something deep within my own being that would allow me to emerge triumphant against such overwhelming odds. I was confined at home while the whole nation pointed its resources against me. Theological. The house of the wicked will be overthrown, but the tent of the upright shall flourish. Proverbs 14, verse 11, Amplified Bible Classic Edition. Do you ever have any questions? Had I been wicked? Was my house destined to be destroyed? Had I deceived myself into thinking that I had become a righteous man? I had even created an organization called the Righteous Men Movement. Were my past sins bringing me karma? Had my luck run out? Was it truly the government bringing down a radical Black man who would not be a Republican or a Democrat? Was it my nationalistic themes that were the reason behind the move to eliminate my influence? Were my good deeds not good enough? Did I have a deficit in the column not supporting my faith? Had I failed to believe what I had preached? Why pray? Who had the most power, God or white men? Is it foolish to have questions in the midst of intense pressure? What do you really believe when your own house breaks and crumbles? I made a decision, even though I could not answer all my own questions. I chose to believe that the tent of the upright my house would flourish. I chose never to waver from that statement. My house shall flourish.